My wife and I have been married for 12 years. Last week, she told me something about our wedding day that she had never mentioned before. One detail. It changed everything I thought I remembered about that day. My name is Daniel Howe, and I want to tell you about the conversation that started with a look I almost missed and ended with the truest thing either of us had said in 12 years. It started with dinner, nothing dramatic. The kids were loud, the pasta was fine, the usual Tuesday noise of a family at a table. But Sarah was somewhere else. Not visibly. She laughed at the right moments, answered questions, passed the bread. But I've been married to her for 12 years, and I know the difference between her being present and her performing present. She was performing. After the kids went to bed, I asked her if she was okay. She said yes. Then she turned off the tap, dried her hands and said, "I've been thinking about something, about our wedding." I said, "What about it?" The particular quiet of someone deciding whether to say the thing they've been holding. Then, I almost didn't come. I put down the plate I was drying. "What do you mean?" I said. And she told me. 2 weeks before our wedding, she had learned something. Not from me, from someone else. Someone from my past who had found her in the way people sometimes find the people connected to you, through the overlapping circles of mutual acquaintance that you never fully map until one of them becomes a problem. What she was told was the kind of thing that could have stopped a wedding, should have stopped a wedding, she said, if she had believed all of it. I am going to be careful about specifics because what she was told involves other people who are not part of this story. What I will tell you is that there was a chapter of my past I had not shared with her. Not a lie, I had simply presented a version of myself that was slightly cleaner than the full truth. Most people do this in the early stages of love. Most people don't get a phone call 2 weeks before the ceremony from someone willing to fill in what was left out. She had spent 2 weeks deciding what to do. She had come anyway. I put the plate down on the counter. "You knew," I said. "Yes." "On the day?" "Yes." I thought about our wedding day, the light in the church, the way she had looked walking toward me, the expression on her face when she reached me and took my hands. I had spent 12 years reading that expression as pure happiness. I was now understanding there had been something else in it, something she had been carrying since before she said, "I do." "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. That night, the next day, any point in 12 years, she didn't look away. "Because I decided," she said. "I had 2 weeks and I thought about it and I decided that what I'd learned didn't change what I knew about who you were. It changed what I knew about what you'd done. Those aren't the same thing." I let that sit. Then, "You should have told me you knew." "I know," she said. "I've known that for 12 years. So why now?" She was quiet for a moment. "Our daughter asked me last week if she should tell her friend something that might hurt her," she said. "I told her that honesty, even when it's hard, is better than the weight of keeping something back. Then I drove home and thought about the weight I've been carrying since before our wedding day." A pause. I didn't want to keep telling her something I wasn't doing myself. I stood in my kitchen and tried to find the shape of what I was feeling. Because here is the thing about learning something like this 12 years in. The thing you're reacting to is already the past. The decision she made to come, to marry me, to build all of this is already woven into everything. The kids, the house, the 1,000 ordinary evenings like this one. You can't go back to the beginning and choose differently. But I kept asking myself the question I couldn't stop asking. Why did she stay? Not in accusation, in genuine confusion. She had known something significant. She had sat with it for 2 weeks. She had walked down the aisle toward a man holding an incomplete truth. Why? And underneath that, what else does she know that I don't? I asked her to tell me everything, the full version, what she had been told, by whom, in what words. I wanted to see the picture she had been carrying in her head for 12 years, the version of me she had married. We talked for 3 hours, the kitchen dark, tea going cold. She told me everything she'd been told, and then I told her everything, for the first time. The full chapter, not the clean version. The actual shape of what had happened, why I had kept it back, what the younger version of me had done, and why. and what it had cost. It was one of the more uncomfortable hours of my adult life. But here is the thing I hadn't expected. The real story was less bad than what she'd been told. The person who had called her 2 weeks before our wedding had given her a version that was accurate in its broad outline and wrong in several significant details. The kind of wrong that happens when someone tells a story they only half know, filling in gaps with assumption. She had spent 12 years married to a man whose history she had partly misunderstood. That was almost harder than if the truth had been worse. We sat with that for a long time. She said, "I wish you'd told me." I said, "I wish you'd asked me." 12 years, 2 kids, a life that was good and real and ours. "What do we do with this?" I asked. "Put it on the table," she said, "completely, and see what it looks like in the light." That was 3 weeks ago. We've been in the light since then. Uncomfortable, the way things are when you're seeing them clearly for the first time. We've had conversations we should have had years ago. The table has been full. It's also made us something we weren't quite before. More honest, more careful, more aware of what it costs to carry things alone. Here's what I want to leave you with. She walked into our marriage with incomplete truth. That was mine to fix. I waited 12 years to understand that. Not because I didn't know I'd kept something back. I knew, but I told myself it was old and irrelevant, and that bringing it up would only complicate something good. I told myself the version she had was close enough. It wasn't close enough. It was never close enough. The person you love deserves the full picture, not the cleaned up version, not the one that makes you easier to love, not the one where the harder parts have been quietly set aside. The full picture, and the chance to choose you with everything in front of them. Sarah chose me twice, once with incomplete information, once with all of it. I'm grateful she chose the same both times, but she should have only had to choose once. That's on me. That's what I'm living with now.